So good morning to everyone. This is the July 7th, 2022 meeting of the Lower Downtown Design Review Commission, and we'll call the meeting to order. Before we begin the discussion, I'll review the options for public comment. If you are joining by computer, tablet, or smartphone, you should select the hand raise option. If you are calling in by phone, you need to either email landmark@denvergov.org with your name and phone number that you're calling in on and the project that you would like to discuss. Or if you use the dial *9, that will also show that your hand is raised. So next we'll go through and introduce the commissioners here today. I'll ask each commissioner to provide their name and what position they hold on the commission. We'll go in alphabetical order and hopefully I'll have the attendance right. But I'll start. I am Jane Chrysler. I am the preservation architect on the commission. And next we'll go to Tom.
I'm Tom Sulla, and I am a general contractor.
And Andy.
No Andy today.
No Andy today?
No.
Or not yet? Okay.
No, Andy's not here today, and
I had Mike.
Mike, yes. No
Mike
Andy
was...
or Mike.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then we'll go to Fred.
Hi, Fred Glick, property owner.
And Jim.
Jim Gravener, downtown resident.
John.
John McIntyre, at large, Commissioner.
And Heather.
Heather Vasquez Johnson, practicing architect.
Great. Thank you all for that. Next, we just need to approve our meeting record for June 2nd, 2022. So I'll ask any commissioners if they have any comments or clarifications on that meeting record. And if not, if there's anyone who would like to make a motion.
Move approval.
Thank you,
Mr.
Jim.
Chair. Yeah.
And yeah, is there a second?
Second, Tom.
Thank you, Tom, for the second. We'll do a quick roll call and start with Tom.
Tom Sulla.
Are you an aye or a nay
And
for the
I.
meeting record? Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
That's all right. No worries. Then Fred.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
John.
All right.
Heather.
Aye.
And Jane is an aye. So motion passes and the meeting record is approved. So next on our agenda, we have the consent agenda, and we have two items on our consent agenda for today. They are CSA 2022-000006, amend 1601 Market Street Market Station, which is a CSP amendment. And the second item is 2022 ZLAM 0000027 1930 to 1938 Blake Street, which is a zone lot amendment. So are there any commissioners who have any questions or comments regarding these two items? Or if you have any desire or reason to pull them off of the consent agenda? If not, is there someone who can make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Jane, I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of items number CSA-2022-000006- amend for 1601 Market Street at Market Station, and item number 2022-C LAM-0000027 for 1930 to 1938 Lake Street.
Thank you, Heather. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, John. So with that, unless there's any other comments, we'll go back to a roll call for approval of that motion on the consent agenda. And again, we'll start with Tom for a vote.
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and Jane is also an aye. So the motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. And so if there is anyone participating in the meeting, in the call, that's here for the consent agenda, you are hereby excused, and thank you for your participation. So moving right along, next on our agenda is our design review projects. And before we dive into those, I'll do a quick review of our process. Just as a reminder that we'll begin with staff making a presentation, which is about the project, which will be followed by any questions from commissioners. Following that, the applicant will have up to 10 minutes, or it'll be 15 minutes if this is an infill project, to make a presentation to the commissioners. And that will be followed by any questions by commissioners of the applicant. Once that is complete, members of the public are welcome to provide any public comment for up to 2 minutes. And just as a reminder there, if you are joining by computer, tablet, or smartphone, you should select the hand raise option. If you are calling in by phone, you can either email landmark@denvergov.org with your name and phone number and the project you would like to discuss, or you can use *9 to raise your hand on your phone. Following any public comment, staff can provide any clarifications if necessary, and then the commission will go into deliberation and will vote on the item. So the first item that we will discuss is 2022 COA 289 1745 Wazi Street. And I believe that is Brittany who will start us off.
I wanted to clarify real fast because I'm looking at the attendee list and I don't see the member of the applicant in this attending. So I don't know if it would be better to, oh, got it. Okay, sorry, I see a hand raised, so we're good to go.
Okay.
Just under a different name than I was expecting. Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
So our first application of the day is for modifications to an existing sidewalk railing at 1745 Wazi Street, which is a building located at a corner of 18th and Wazi Street. The alterations to the sidewalk railing will occur along Wazi Street. So here you can see a site plan of the proposal. Wazi is at the Wazi Street is on the bottom part of the screen, and then we have a view from the corner, and you can see the railing on the left of the building there. Slide's not changing. There we go. So the applicant is proposing to alter the existing railing by adding a decorative upper rail to the existing patio enclosure. The new rail will increase the height of the railing to 9 feet 3 inches, and the railing modification will mimic the railing design for the tenant's former location, which is Rio Grande, which was previously located on Blake Street, which is also in the lower downtown historic district. So here on the screen, you can see those proposed modifications to the railing with that decorative upper rail. The applicant is proposing to hang planters and put planter boxes on the existing railing. And then you can see that configuration at the former location at Blake Street. So staff evaluated this proposal with the design guidelines for the Lower Downtown Historic District. Those guidelines do state that patio railings should enclose dining areas, which this is doing, and it does meet the definition for the Denver zoning code for a dining area. The railing will be constructed of steel and is a high quality material. It will not be painted federal green as recommended by the guidelines for the Lower Downtown streetscape. It will be painted black, but the commission has approved neutral colors in the past, such as black. However, the streetscape guidelines suggest that railing should be similar to the style found throughout Lower Downtown. So the proposed addition of the decorative upper rail is not typical of the district. Most railings within the Lower Downtown Historic District are 3 to 4 feet in height. This proposed railing is 9 feet 3 inches with the decorative upper rail added to the existing railing. And staff are concerned that the railing will block views of the historic building. While the former location of this tenant also had a similar outdoor patio railing configuration, this patio was located in a void in the streetscape, and the railing design there helped maintain the street edge and did not block views of the building. So while it worked in the former location, staff are very concerned that it does not work in the current location, which is in front of a historic building. In addition to the Lower Downtown design guidelines and Lower Downtown streetscape guidelines, we evaluated this proposal with the design guidelines for Denver landmark structures and districts, which is our general design guideline document that all other design guidelines are supplemental to. That guideline states that views of the historic building or patio should be maintained, and that umbrellas and decorative planters should not be affixed to patio railings, and that railings should be of a low, simple design. So staff feel that the proposed railing is in conflict with that design guideline, as it is not low in height and will block views of the facade. And then additionally, with the addition of the planters, it will create even more of a private patio space that will block views of the historic building. So we are recommending denial of this project proposal, as the alterations to the patio railing will exceed typical sidewalk railing heights and designs and will block views of the historic building.
Thank you, Brittany. Are there any questions by commissioners for staff on this project? All right, not hearing any, then sounds like we can invite our applicant to unmute themselves and allow them 10 minutes to make a presentation, or up to 10 minutes. You don't have to use all of it. If you wouldn't mind providing us with your name and address for the record as you introduce yourself, that would be appreciated. Otherwise, we'll turn it over to the applicant.
And we're having trouble promoting you, Patrick. So, but I just marked you as allowed to speak. So it looks like you're unmuted, which is great.
Okay. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for this opportunity to present this idea for the enhancement of the current patio railing there. I am Patrick McCochran, the owner of Rio Grande Mexican Restaurant, also owner of the first floor property there at 1745 Wazi. And today I'm here to present the idea of enhancing this railing, and certainly have heard the comment from historic preservation regarding the tendency for this type of installation to block the historic building. Understand that concern, and yet I'm still presenting this as an idea, and in a way, one of the comments that was put forth regarding making the patio feel more private is certainly part of the intention. Excuse me. And I think I have two points to sort of present to you. One is the idea is to enhance the cityscape there, which tends to be a bit of a hardscape in a downtown area, similar to the intent of the urban forest program, to really add some element of growth and natural plant materials, that sort of thing, to really hopefully soften the area. Also create a bit of a trellis, for the vines that we've had some success with. And the other piece of this intention is to address what has become a more common interaction with individuals who tend to harass diners and customers. And we're seeing, certainly in this area, a much more prevalent example of unwelcome interaction with folks who are downtown that are struggling in one way or the other. And there have been a number of incidents, throughout Lodo, and certainly we've experienced some here at this location, having recently opened there. And so the idea was to create a bit of a sanctuary, a buffer from some of that, which is certainly become a sort of daily issue in Lodo and downtown. So I don't have a big presentation beyond that, just to say that is the sort of two dual purpose of this approach, and would like to hear what your thoughts are regarding that. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation and explanation. Are there any questions from commissioners to the applicant?
I'll jump in if that's all right.
Sure.
I just was wondering, you talk about this helping to create some greenery. Can you tell us what your plans are in the wintertime? Is everything being planted in containers? You're talking about vines. You're able to grow vines out of containers that last through the year. I'm just kind of curious to get some details on what you're planning.
Yes, thank you. We have had success growing vines out of containers at another location, and those would be inside, the patio space. And of course, those die back in the wintertime, and the vines stay and then regrow. But the rest of it would be removed in the wintertime.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, not hearing any additional questions. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this application?
Like to use the hand raise button at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on the phone, click dial *9. I'm not seeing anyone. I think they're here for the next project.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, without any public comment, we can go ahead and enter into deliberation. So we will do so. If we have any additional follow-up questions for the applicant, we will be sure to let you know. Otherwise, I'll open it up to commissioners for thoughts and comments on the application.
If nobody else is going to kick it off, I'll jump in. You know, I am not sure that one has to go up to create greenery and to add some greenery with a railing. I've seen some very successful plantings that are maintained even in the winter in Lodo. The kitchen comes to mind. They change those out pretty regularly and manage to keep some stuff going through the winter as well, rather than just letting it all die back. And that's done just at the level of the top of the railing. I also worry, I would say, a little bit about the precedent something like this sets and the intentionality of blocking the patio from the street. I recognize that there are people who come through in downtown, and that's something that happens all over the world. I think from a planning perspective, from what I've seen of the work around 16th Street Mall, et cetera, I think the idea is to create fewer barriers in downtown and expand the areas in which people are able to eat. So I'm a little bit concerned about the precedent of creating an additional street wall, as it were, to wall off patios. Thanks.
Thanks, Fred.
I would agree with what Fred said, and generally I agree with staff's position on it. I think that it works in the former location on Blake Street because it is kind of filling in a void in the streetscape. And my concern here is that that patio is fully in public right of way and it starts to get large and starts to get kind of cumbersome. And I think it's, you know, I don't think it meets the guidelines, as staff has pointed out, for a number of reasons. And I think it's starting to, as Fred said, could set kind of a unpleasant precedence for kind of closing things off and creating too much of a barrier in the public right of way. So I'm in support of staff's recommendation of denial.
Those were all good thoughts. I agree with them. And I support the denial. Well, I would not like to see a change in the design here, this location or elsewhere. And I have been in the past designed and built planters that were on the railings at the kitchen, and it worked real well. It separated things, I think, enough for the owner to serve his public there.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, Jim.
Just two quick comments. One is that in having lived in Lodo for 28 years now, I find that not only do you get an occasional person coming in and begging for money or something, but you also get a lot of conversations that occur when you recognize neighbors, friends, and we've had a number of occasions over the years where someone joins us for dinner or we join someone for dinner inside the railing, going through the proper clearances, and that it becomes a way of helping out to have a low railing there, helping out those kind of transactions. So having said that, and also the second thing is I don't think there are any other vertical member railings in any direction 5 or 6 blocks away from the proposed site. I guess I'd ask if any of the residents in the building had comments that they made available to the applicant. If not, that's fine, but I would heartily support the recommendation of staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, and I'll add, I agree with the comments made by others and the staff recommendation. I know the other item that I think the vertical piece, while I sympathize with the desire and the reasoning behind it, I just don't see how it can meet the guidelines that we are tasked with implementing. So I know the other question was about color, and that the proposed color was black. If the applicant were to move forward with a railing that was not at this height, I don't believe I would have an issue with the color being black versus federal green, but for me, it is the height that is the issue, and the obstruction of the building and the clutter that it can create.
Well, and Jane, if I'm reading it correctly, I think it's modifications to the railing that's currently there and currently exists at this location, which is black. So yeah, I agree. I don't have any objections with keeping it black and not requiring that they make it the green color. So
yeah. John, did you have some comments?
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments to add. Obviously, I think sympathize with the applicant here in terms of the intent to try and create a more positive outdoor seating environment, but agree in terms of the impacts of something of that scale, particularly within this kind of section of right of way, which already has a relatively lean sidewalk condition against the patio area. And I think that the sort of proportion of something taller, guidelines aside, in that space would likely be challenging in terms of that perception of generosity within the right of way with the space it claims. I am interested though as well. I do also appreciate the intent to try and green the sidewalk area and add that. I just wanted a little clarification maybe from staff that if planters, for instance, were fixed to the inside of the existing railing to allow for greenery to happen, would that be something that would be back in front of us for discussion? Is that something that is allowed within the guidelines? Probably just a clarification that I should know myself.
So we only review things that require a building or zoning permit. Technically, planters on the railing don't require that. So it's not something we would need to review. Our guidelines say don't do it, but
So actually, when they're affixed to the railing, because the railing can't be more than a certain height, that would trigger a zoning review. But if they're resting on the railing, some of them are welded onto the railing, those trigger a zoning review. Just having a planter that rests on the railing and hangs off of it does not trigger a zoning review because it's removable.
Yeah, just interested to know for context. I mean, I personally would support the idea of being able to green at that lower level. I think it would help with a kind of a horizontal low version of buffering, as well as providing some green to the sidewalk without necessarily impacting so much on that perception of width and generosity in the right of way. So just offering that for consideration.
Thanks, John. So unless there are any other comments, is there someone who would like to make a motion?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Thanks,
I move to deny application 2022 COA 289 for the patio railing alterations at 1745 Wazi Street for railing guidelines for downtown historic district streetscapes and design guidelines for Denver landmark structures and districts guidelines 4.28 and 5.14, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Thank you, Fred. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Heather. So the motion, oh, sorry, we have to vote. Almost forgot that part. Let me do a quick roll call. And again, we'll begin with Tom.
Nay.
So are you opposing the motion to deny?
I'm opposing the motion to deny.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with the motion to deny.
Okay. So I think that's an aye vote.
That's an aye.
Okay. Fred,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and Jane is an aye. So the motion passes unanimously, but to deny the application. So thank you to the applicant for being here, and appreciate your efforts. That brings us to our next item on the design review agenda, and that is 2022 COA 145 1920 Market Street. And again, I think that is Brittany who will introduce this.
So our next project is for a one-story rooftop addition to 1920 Market Street, which is a contributing building built in the 1930s, and a new side addition to that building that will involve demolition of the existing non-contributing building and patio space that you see in this photograph here. The commission previously reviewed this project on May 5th and chose to continue this application to this meeting date for further discussion of the rooftop component on the new side addition in the space. So I'm not going to go over the entirety of the project scope because during the May 5th meeting, the commission indicated that generally they were supportive of the alterations to the historic building, which includes a new rooftop addition, replacement of the non-historic garage roll-up door in the center bay with a new storefront. The commission indicated that you are also broadly supportive of alterations to the loading dock. So the loading dock will be demolished and expanded and altered to allow for ADA access and just continuity between the 1930s building and the new addition. The commission also indicated that you were comfortable with the cantilever of the rooftop addition on the 1930s structure. So I don't really have slides to discuss the demolition and some of the addition components because the commission indicated that you were comfortable with those elements. So largely I'm going to focus on what the concerns were from the last meeting and how the applicant has modified the project to address those concerns. So here is the proposal. Again, alterations to the building include a side addition. That side addition has been articulated to have the appearance of 2 stories, but in the internal space, it is a 1-story building. And then you can see that reconfiguration of the loading dock that is proposed. And then the rooftop addition that is proposed on the contributing building is not visible from the public right away as it's significantly set back. So here are those elevations of that side addition. Again, the commission was broadly supportive of this and didn't have major concerns over that side addition. What the commission was concerned about was the 3-sided rooftop structure on the new side addition. So the commission felt that interpreting the 3-sided rooftop structure as a canopy was not advantageous approach. Staff interpreted this as a canopy as zoning initially defined the space as an outdoor eating and service area. Outdoor eating and service areas per the zoning code are required to be at least 50% open. And the code states that permanent structures covering outdoor eating and service areas shall be 50% open to the sky, and openings shall be dispersed across the surface of the covering. So since the May 5th meeting, the applicant has had additional conversations with project coordination regarding this 3-sided rooftop structure. And instead of being classified as an outdoor eating and service area, the space will be identified as an eating and a drinking establishment primary use. So this has significant ramifications for how the structure is reviewed, because the Denver zoning code does not require that a primary use eating and drinking establishment be 50% open to the sky. It also does not require that it be enclosed by 4 walls. So with this reclassification of use, it is not in violation of the Denver zoning code, and therefore will be treated as an additional floor to the building. So now we're looking at it as an additional floor to the building. During the May 5th meeting, the commission did have some concerns over the design of the three-sided rooftop structure. There were concerns over the miter edges. Those have been eliminated from the design, and the overall height of this and the mechanical screen that sits on the top of this three-sided rooftop structure has been reduced minimally from 42 feet to 41 feet 4 inches. And the height of the three-sided structure overall has also been reduced from 36 feet to 34 feet. The setback of the structure hasn't changed, and the applicant has also added roof and floor to the glass entry element over the entry to the new addition, which was of concern during the last meeting, but that was a simple change and has not affected the overall design of the side addition. So in terms of the proposal, the rhythm and proportions are intended to relate to the 1920 Market Street building. The windows are tall and narrow, as you see on the 1920 Market Street building, and the datum lines are picking up from the datum lines that you see in the surrounding context. This block is dominated by 1-story buildings. The lower downtown design guidelines do encourage that new buildings be at least 2 stories. But as this block is dominated by a bunch of contributing 1-story buildings, we feel that the proposed addition is compatible with the surrounding context and does not overwhelm the existing historic contributing building. This is just the rear of the building. I don't have significant comments on this. The addition on the 1920 building, sorry, 1920 Market, constructed in the 1930s, will cantilever minimally over the alley. It is still within the property line, and the commission indicated that there were not concerns over that cantilever for those rooftop components. And then there will be some modifications to some doors on the rear of the elevation, but this is a secondary facade, and we do not have concerns over those changes. So here is the current 3-sided rooftop structure. View planes as taken from average height, which per the Denver zoning code is 5 feet 6 inches across the street, showing the visibility of that rooftop element. It is significantly set back from the street and will have minimal level of visibility. The mechanical equipment is set on the roof of the structure. The commission indicated in the May 5th meeting that that was appropriate placement for that mechanical equipment. Again, the applicant has reduced the screening minimally to further reduce the height of that element. But as you can see, it's very set back from the facade of the building, which is also set back from the contributing facade. So it does have significant setback from the street frontage. And this is what was reviewed in the May 5th submittal, in which the commission expressed concerns over the miter edges and the height of that element. So you can see how that has been adjusted per commission discussion at the May 5th meeting. Here is another section view of that project proposal. So in terms of alterations made to the other components that are not the rooftop structure, the applicant has added a floor and roof element to this glass canopy enclosure to prevent snow from building up and collecting in that space per commission discussion at the last meeting. However, it doesn't change the facade articulation at all, just addresses some of the concerns of that being open space. Oops, we went back a slide somehow. So here is the current proposal as viewed from street level. Again, the mitered edges have been eliminated and the height of that three-sided rooftop structure has been reduced. We are reviewing this for mass form and context at this moment, and later it will return for design details. This view is just showing the doors open in operation in that addition, but we will look at that in later details. And then here is the May 5th submittal in which the commission expressed concerns over those mitered edges of that three-sided structure. And then here is a view from the south of the current proposal. And here is what the commission reviewed in May for that rooftop structure. So here's that proposed rooftop structure again. You can see that the miter edges have been removed from the project proposal, and it's much more square in proportion and has made much more proportionate to the addition below. So the building will be blocky and rectangular in nature. It does have design that relates to the surrounding context and the contributing building that is attached to. And staff do feel that the applicant has addressed all the comments from the commission discussion at the May 5th meeting, and therefore we are recommending approval of the current design as we feel that it does meet the Denver zoning code requirements and commission discussion for this rooftop structure.
Thank you, Brittany. As always, you manage to take complicated information and present it clearly, so it's appreciated. But are there questions for Brittany from the commissioners? No, any last chance questions for Brittany? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and invite the applicant to unmute themselves. Again, just remind you that you have up to 10 minutes to make a presentation. Feel free to respond to any of the comments that were provided in the staff report. And again, we'll just ask that you provide your name and address for the record as you speak.
Good morning, everyone. This is Peter Koliopoulos with Circle West Architects. I'm at 1555 Blake Street, and very happy to get together again and represent the updates, and want to just highlight all the things that Brittany went through. I think it was very well outlined and presented as far as where we left off at our last meeting and the updates that we've made since then, and obviously what we're presenting here this morning. So I would just highlight what Brittany mentioned as far as the what we developed at the entry on the first floor, how we reduced the canopy and overall height of the second floor addition. And as well as meeting with the Lodo District Board a week and a half or 2 weeks ago to review with them the updated design. And, you know, our focus is to be a great neighbor and work within the context of the Lodo District. So just happy to present and listen to any questions or comments you may have for us.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I'll just make a quick comment to start that I appreciated all of the graphics that were provided in the submission. I found them very helpful and know that can be time consuming. So I just wanted to pass that along. But I will open it up to any questions that commissioners have for the applicant. Any questions? Okay. Well, absent any questions, we'll go ahead and ask if there's anyone from the public who would like to comment on this application.
Only have one person joining and they are by phone. So if you would like to speak on this, dial *9 on your phone. We'll unmute you. They have not done so.
And I didn't quite catch that, Jen, but it sounds like there's
my microphone's bad today. Yeah, so we have one person by phone who is not the applicant or may be part of the applicant team. And if you are by phone and want to join, dial *9 to raise your hand, and we will recognize you and allow you to unmute. I've not seen them do so.
okay. Well, if that changes, let us know. But otherwise, it appears that we can go ahead and go into deliberation. If just for the applicant, if we do have any follow-up questions, as I think you know, we will certainly direct them to you. But at this point, I'll open it up for commissioners to make any comments.
Jane, I'll start. I think the applicant has addressed the concerns that we had at the prior review for this second level rooftop area nicely, and I think that I think they've addressed everything that we were concerned about last time, and the reason that we pushed the review again. And so I am in support of approving these modifications.
Thank you, Heather.
I'd echo that.
Thanks, John.
I'm in support.
Thank you, Tom. Any other comments? I would agree as well, but I think our comments have been addressed, and I agree with staff's recommendation. Okay, well.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Please do.
Okay, I move to approve application 2022 COA 145 for the new edition phase 1 mass form and context at 1920 Market Street for policy 1.1, 1.3, 1.4, 4.1, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 8.1, and design guidelines 1.1.1, 1.1.3, 1.1.4, 1.3.1, 1.4.1, 1.4.2, 1.4.3, 4.1.1, 4.1.2, 4.1.5, 5.1.1, 5.1.3, 5.2.1, 5.2.2, 5.3.1, 5.3.2, 8.1.1, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
I'll second. And Fred, you should work in radio.
Right. All right. So thank you, Fred, for the yeoman's work of that motion, and John for seconding. So we'll go ahead and do a roll call and begin with Tom.
Aye.
Fred.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
And Jane is also an aye. So the motion passes unanimously, and thank you again to the applicant for being here and for all of your work on getting this project where it is. So given this is mass form and context, Jen, we will see this again for materials. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I know I didn't call it the right name, but
Design details.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yes. All right. Okay. Well, as far as our agenda is concerned, we don't have any listed business items or discussion items unless there is anything that any commissioners would like to bring up.
I was not in attendance the last two meetings, and by and by I was talking to Ellen over at the business district, and she said that Steve Weil had handed in his resignation. Is that correct?
He didn't hand in his resignation. He was up for a second term and did not reapply.
Oh, okay.
So
Or same thing.
Same thing, different
Fine.
function. So we're I have a call out for nominees for his position, and I have one name, and I was told last week I would get another name this week, and then we'll do some interviews.
And Steve was the business owner position. Correct. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep. This is the position that often sits open for a while when we don't have a candidate or when we have a turnover in candidates, just because it's a hard one to fill.
Yeah. Okay. Any other, my quick question, Jen, is I did have a panic attack this morning as I was logging in thinking, wait, was I supposed to be there in person?
No, September. Yeah. And just, I looked at the calendar. You usually would have a meeting on September 1st, but that's 2 days before the Labor Day weekend. And so I believe last year you voted to change that to September 8th as the main meeting for September. So we will aim for September 8th for the first in-person meeting. We've sent out invitations for hybrid test outs. We would like commissioners to be in person, but the test out would be to simulate what it might be like for you all in person, to see what public testimony might look like from someone attending virtually. And that's going to be played by staff.
Great. Yeah, and I believe it sounds, and those are all scheduled, right? We're all on the calendar for those.
And
awesome.
we'd love for you all to try to attend one. I know it's at the end of the summer, and so people may be traveling, and that's fine. But just wanted to, if you all feel like you need to test this out before the first meeting on September 8th, then please come for one of those practice sessions. They're not even a meeting, it's just a test out.
Great. All right. Any other final comments? Otherwise, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
It's 9:25 for the record.
Thanks all.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye, everyone.